Good morning, everybody. It is 6th of March, 2025. It's 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, well, what am I doing out here at this time? Well, I have classes, as you know, and it's always at different times, you know. So it's kind of an early one, and I didn't do a video yesterday, so I'm doing it now because I don't know the way the classes are scheduled. But anyhow, what about news? Boy, it's incredible stuff that's going on. And some of the latest news, the biggest news, is probably what Macron was saying. But let's go into things a little bit more chronologically here. So, first I wanted to say that, if Zelensky, let's talk about Ukraine, of course, that's mostly what we talk about anyway. If Zelensky, if he really wanted to make a deal with Trump, he would say, tell Trump, because I'm sure Trump would want to know, because the truth is coming out about a lot of things. But who knows, maybe this would come out. He would talk about these research facilities that the Democrats had set up, in large part Joe Biden and his family, with Rosemont Seneca and all. What were these research laboratories doing? And as you know, on the day of the first day of the special military operation, it was a strict order immediately to destroy the records of what was going on there. And I've talked about what that was all about. And I think I'm allowed to mention the words, at least, genetic weapons. Have you ever heard of that? I think I'm allowed to say that. I don't know, because I have to be very careful. Every time I get taken down by YouTube, it's normally something broaching on this sort of a subject. So I can say research facilities or research laboratories, maybe. That's about all I could. I mean, other people can talk about this stuff, but I can't. They are watching me like a hawk, and that's why it probably takes like 4 hours to download a 30-minute video for me, or to upload it. And because they're watching me, they have to look over it. Maybe I think they're doing it personally. I think they're not doing it just by algorithms. Yeah. And I think one time I was saying that somebody had probably posted this on some site, so I was getting, like, I don't know, what did I get? Right away, within some days, I got 1,000 views or something like that. And I'm thinking maybe it was on a weekend. I'm not exactly sure, but maybe YouTube just kind of let that one go instead of suppressing it. And you guys know that they heavily suppress a lot of channels that are putting out news, because they don't really like this news. They're part of the, whether you call it the establishment or whatever. Looks like I'm probably being watched as well. Oh, I got to show you this way. I don't have the thing on. So look at that. I guess I'm on candid camera. So maybe it's probably for these, I don't know, I should look. It's maybe a little bit dark. I can't see for sure. Probably watching these sheds over here, because it's such an easy place for stuff to happen. As you see, there's not anybody here. And there's some woods, and either somebody would break into these things and steal things, or these woods over here. But there's not really any, in the States, this place would be a prime place to conduct rapes and things like that. I remember even in the 1980s, a lot of that was happening. So it's not like this is some kind of a new phenomenon. But of course, in Europe, it's somewhat new. And if we were to talk about all of that, and that's one reason why a lot of people are up in arms about what's going on in the UK and even in Germany. It's not allowed. It is not allowed. You get in big trouble if you report rapes by migrants, raping German women and all. Huge amounts of that was going on. I don't know if it still is. I presume it still is. Some people talk about it on channels, but I don't know if they're broadcasting from Germany. But it's strictly not allowed to talk about, all these rapes that are going on in Europe. So anyhow, Donald Trump even mentioned that in a tweet not long ago, just some days ago. So let's keep going here instead of talking about that sort of a thing. Musk put out that he noticed the only times that the Democrats were kind of clapping or cheering or celebrating during Trump's congressional address is when it was something about Ukraine. And the only flags that they had were Ukrainian flags. So it's like they hate America, and You know, it's like Baerbock. She said she doesn't care about what the German voter thinks, but she wants to dedicate everything to Ukraine. It's, I don't, you know, you just, you can't really get what the heck is in these people's heads, you know? I, I don't even really, it's like, it's impossible to even get into this stuff. What these people are doing, these leaders, at least some of them have the decency to act like they like their country, when at times you obviously know that they don't. They don't care about their countries at all or their people. Zelensky doesn't care about the Ukrainian people. Everybody knows that. And I'll get into like what Netanyahu and what Trump's doing there too towards the end of this video. But yeah. Yes, so they also have, if you drive drunk in Latvia, these are just there's some little bits of news I'll stick in here too with some big stuff. If you drive drunk in Latvia, they take your car and they send it to Ukraine. It makes you wonder, what does Ukraine do with these cars? You know, they're not like military stuff. They probably sell them, you know, and get more money to Mr. Z, you know, and or who knows, because they go to different places. So it's like everything to Ukraine. They get down on their knees. Oh, Ukraine, 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 the thriving democracy where freedom of speech does not exist. And one guy owns all of the, you know, the great democratic, compassionate, leader, you know. Oh my God. It's like, I mean, for you people in this, I don't even know how to talk about this stuff because it's just too incredible. And Germany, they said they're going to dump 528 billion into the infrastructure and defense. So it makes you wonder, well, how much is going into infrastructure? How much is going into defense? You know, this article didn't say which, and but it's going to be a big militarization. I mean, we'll talk about France in a minute. It's supposed to be the biggest militarization not seen since their beloved predecessor Adolf before World War II. So it's going to be on the scale of what Germany did before Adolf kicked off World War II. And by the way, historically speaking, Adolf, he was not planning on having it. He was going to build up even much, much more. I guess that the war was not supposed to start until the mid-1940s, but it started 10 years too early. He was thinking he was going to get away with taking the Sudetenland and taking parts of this country and that country, and that nobody would actually do anything. But it's sort of like the United States, you know, moving against Russia and taking all of these countries, you know, and setting up puppet governments. You know, well, they set up the puppet government and then they take it. They take these countries, you know, and it was into NATO, and now a lot of these countries are confused. But, you know, how come the United States is now abandoning us? You know, I mean, we're their puppets, and now they're not helping us. You know, it's a really strange thing going on, obviously. You guys know that. Yes, Trump said Trudeau is on his way out, but trying to stay in power anyway by using the tariffs, you know, like he's trying to make his people think, look at how much I love Canada. I'm ready to go against the evil Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they're doing all kinds of their counter tariffs. Same thing is going on in China. But I'm not saying I like Trump and what he's doing with these tariffs. Like, a lot of people think it's quite stupid, because there's always going to be a, you know, what is it in physics? For every action, there's always a reaction. Put in a nutshell. And it turns out, I saw this article, that the amount that Ursula von der Leyen, I was talking about that in the last video, about the amount is which is of course fantasy, the amount that she's trying to increase defense spending for the EU, like she's made herself the queen of the EU, it's at present $840 billion. So I wouldn't know what that's probably over 850 billion euros, which is $1 trillion. And I guess that is per year. That's not for a long period of time. That's per 1 year. I mean, the first year to kickstart all of the massive factories and everything, you know, to get them ready to start a war against Russia, of course. But oh, no, it's just defense. Russia wants to attack them. Oh gosh, you know, yeah, because Putin, he wants more land. No, wait, he has a lot of land. He wants more resource. No, he's got a lot. He got all the resources he needs. He needs customer. No, wait a minute. Well, they're not going to be customers if he takes them over. So they're going to be some. I don't know. They haven't come up with the reason why Putin really wants to take Europe yet. You know, maybe he wants all that heavy debt so that he can lose more money. I don't know. Yeah. So 804. And as you know, this 840 billion, that's going to stretch easily. It will mean 900 billion. But of course, it's not going to take shape anyway. They don't have the money. They don't have the means to make the money. It's like a pipe dream. It's, I think it's all these leaders, and everybody knows this, Starmer, Macron, it's nothing but a huge scare campaign to scare their people into dumping huge money into their military industrial complex. And obviously, I don't even think that they intend on going to war. This is just a way to make them rich, makes them filthy rich. And they've been getting that way anyway. Rich and privileged to stay in power. You know, it makes the military industrial complex rich. And those people in turn will give them, the politicians, more money to stay in power. And it's just like what is going on in the United States. Really strange that Donald Trump is kind of bowing out. Maybe that's why he put a lot of these billionaires in charge of all these places, so that they're going to be less apt to want to get themselves even more rich. I don't know. I mean, a lot of these, people, there are money junkies. They can't ever get enough money. I mean, obviously, Zelensky is one of these people. And Zelensky has these several problems, as everybody knows. He can't get out. He can't try to get out because his other Nazi compatriots will knock him off, and he's in too deep. And there's just, I've already gone through that. You guys can figure all those out yourself. It's not, me to sit there and list them out, but he can't get out. Doesn't want to get out. So he's got to keep this never-ending war going. Wow, this is incredible. Yes, so, but it's, like I'm saying, it's highly improbable that all this is going to materialize. But she's saying that it's grave security threats. Those are her words, and I guess they want to get it kicked off by 2030. So how immediate is that? But I guess the immediate part is, of course, to prop up Ukraine to keep sending massive amounts of weapons. Makes you wonder, to keep that one going, you need a lot of money, and then to rearm yourself for an even bigger war in the future. Those poor European people. But she says, we're going to take the Russian assets, and then we're going to do this, like as if they're going to materialize some money somewhere, and no matter what, it's always going to come off of the backs of all the people of their constituencies. When the U.S. goes to war, everybody in the world has to pay. But when Europe's going to go to war, they're just going to make Europe even more impoverished. It's like, and they don't care. They don't care. They are going to be rich. Nothing will ever happen. Even if a war does start, they're going to be perfectly fine. They're going to be perfectly rich. They're going to retire in luxury, and everybody else will be miserable in Europe. You guys know that. Yeah. I was also going to note that, with all of the stuff that Donald Trump is even doing, the tariff sort of deals and all that, that he's, I'm just going to say, anybody that calls Trump a conservative has got to have their head examined. I mean, it's all these definitions like fascism and all this stuff, and they don't mean what they normally were set out to mean. The definition, if you put them in the dictionary when these terms came about, they have a completely different meaning now. And conservative, conservative is supposed to be resistant to change, and Trump is in for big change. But he's not a liberal, so it's like you have all these different jackets you can hang on everybody, but Trump's he's not a conservative. What is he? I don't know. More of a nationalist, of course, but not the nationalist in the form of like some of these people that are destroying Ukraine. That's another thing. Alexander Dugin, the political philosopher in Russia, was saying that these people are not, you can't consider them nationalists because they are actually destroying Ukraine. They're these Nazi people. They're not nationalists. They're destroying their own country. I would just say they're just a bunch of greedy suckers. They're all making a lot of money, and they've infected with this ideology of kill, hate Russia, hate Russia, hate. Every fiber of their body, these people have been indoctrinated their entire lives to hate Russia, hate Russia, not realizing, ethnically they are identical to the Russians, really. Like I said, there was some guy that went into some lab and he had his, genetics mapped, and it turns out that he had very little Ukrainian in him. He was Ukrainian, a proud Ukrainian Azov guy or whatever the heck it is. And that his blood, he actually had more Russian in him, people from that region all over in Russia instead of the region of Ukraine. And he had other nationalities in him as well. So he destroyed the entire lab. He doused it and broke everything. He was destroying the entire lab because he didn't like what the messenger told him. So, yeah. Yes. I should also note, when we talk about Ursula von der Leyen, she was the Germany's defense minister. So don't forget that. And of course, she did a terrible, terrible job. Germany's military was, greatly decimated while she was in charge. All she gets around and talks tough. If you want to have somebody just to go and talk tough, I don't know, and talk about taking computer chips out of washing machines and all that kind of bullshit she came up with. The EU is, Ursula, she is escalating things in Romania. And if you put something online, maybe in a social media, probably YouTube or anything, and it is considered to be conspiratorial, that you pay at a minimum a 10,000 euro fine. So, and this is all partly in line with Kalin Georgescu, and they're trying to make sure that he never gets power, that she's doing everything. She is doing everything she possibly can, because this Georgescu is pro-Romania. And actually he's pro-people, he's pro-human, he's pro-Romania, and they will not stand for that. You have to be, for example, you have to hate Russia. I've always been saying that, and if you do not hate Russia, you have no chance. You have no chance of ever getting, and look they already are, according to them, stuck with Fico. They let that happen, and they don't want to see this ever happen again. That Fico became Prime Minister of Slovakia, and Orban has been able to hang on to Hungary. Makes you wonder what's going to happen when Orban's gone. I don't know. It's possible that eventually they're going to take over all these countries. The Hate Russia Club, and even by calling it like a U.S. puppet club, it turns out this is more of a Hate Russia Club, because if you look, Trump came in and he's not in for Hate Russia, so he's really threw a brick in the cog. So it's all a Hate Russia Club. They all believe that they destroy their economies. They have little energy. Russia has all the energy. Russia has a lot of resources, and they eventually want to bring Russia to its knees, to put it in such a position that they can go over there and plunder Russia. That's the major goal into the distant future. But bringing Russia to its knees, you guys figure that stuff out. It's not very difficult. So the big lie from Macron, he's hinting, of course, strongly hinting, but not coming out really and saying it, of a massive war against Russia is needed. And it's from his official address to the nation, But he didn't say those words. You can't say those words because, but everybody, obviously, and it's big news in Europe, and it's big news, of course, in France. Everybody's talking about Macron talking about that. And he came up with this lie. He said that Russia spends 40% of its budget for this purpose, he said, meaning the purpose he means rearming or something, but they don't. I think Russia does not even spend, I don't even know if it's 10%, but if it is, it's maybe maximum right around 10%. So 40% is nothing but a huge lie, Russia couldn't function if they put 40% of their budget into just going against Ukraine. It couldn't function at all. Yeah. But obviously, Macron, Ursula von der Leyen, they want to suck as much money out of their own people as possible. And they don't care about their people. And all of this is going to just mean degraded policy for the people of France. So what are they going to do? They're going to still suck a bunch of money to pay for migrants coming in or whatever? I really don't know. These people are just trying to get... Obviously, all these schemes to take money from people, they all get a cut. Even if the cut is small, I don't know if it's 10% for the big guy, like Joe Biden was getting 10% of all of these dealings that Hunter Biden was doing. Everybody knows that. That's an undeniable fact. So how much are these leaders getting from all these programs to fund migration? I mean, whatever it is, anything that costs money, that's what they want, because they get a chunk of it. you know. And what was the, like, this yellow vest protest? Remember when Macron was, I think it was raising the cost of fuels and stuff like, you know, the deal is they get themselves in these positions where they need so much money that they got to keep sucking more money out of their people. It's just terrible. I mean, Trump is trying to change all that in the States. I don't know if he's doing a good job. I mean, you know, we'll see as time goes by. And the Democrats are fighting him tooth and nail. They want to keep the corruption going, to keep the stealing. Yeah. But, yeah, but to get this non-existent threat of Russia, he says, I think he says that Russia is not going to stop with Ukraine. They're going to keep on going, and France is at risk. You know, I don't know. Makes you wonder how many people are going to be that dumb to fall for that in France. I don't think the people are that stupid. But the Hate Russia Club is going into meltdown. Hate Russia meltdown. It's really incredible. And these people, they got to scare the crap out of their own populations to suck that money out of there. You know, and the best way possible, obviously, is the Hate Russia Club. So that's what they're working on. Oh, we got a garbage can back here. These trucks. How do I get away from trucks? Every video, I can't do a video without trucks. Trucks. So, yeah. So, anyway, so obviously the Hate Russia Club, I don't know, are they demanding a war, or are they just demanding the preparations for war to get more money? Makes you really wonder how you get so many people in there that hate their country so much. That's not just the Democrats of the United States. I mean, then you get people that like their country, and then they're called Putin agents. So that want to say, we don't want to fight with Russia. We want to help our own economy. Putin agent. So, yeah. Yes. So Zelensky, apparently he's come up with another piss plan. You know, but apparently everybody's saying it's no different than the other piss plans. You know, and one of these piss plans, you remember, it was part of this, had this, let's see, what do they called it here? The truce at sea, I guess some people were terming it. And it was about this thing about the grain shipments, and that, you know, there wouldn't be any attacking any ships or something like that. And so that Ukraine can get grain, you know, ship grain out for money to, you know, for retirement and all that sort of stuff. But it turns out that all of this grain went to Europe, and of course it was very poor quality, and they were sending some by train through Poland. You guys remember all that. And of course it was destroying the price of grain in Europe. So Europe stopped a lot of that grain and just left it sitting in the trucks, rotting, I mean in the tankers at sea, rotting. And of course, like I said, the quality was no good really anyway, but it was so cheap so that it was, you know, undermining the farmers of Western Europe. I mean, it didn't work that way. And none of that stuff went to Africa. I think tiny portion of it. And the ships, when they're coming back, they were loaded with weapons. And that is exactly what the truce was supposed to be about, that would not happen. But yet they were loading them with weapons, and they wouldn't stop. And so Russia said, okay, that's over with that one. And I don't know if they let certain amounts of this grain go out or not. I haven't heard so much about it since that time. I don't know if you guys have either. Trump, he came out and he told the mayor of the District of Columbia, of Washington, D.C., to clean up these homeless camps. And, you know, it begs the question, well, what are they going to do? Where are they going to put these people? Are they going to put them in hotels, like in New York? You know, why are the people homeless? I mean, all sorts of things. So where are you going to put these people? So are you going to just snap your fingers like magic and the homeless people have homes? You know, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know, you can't send them to Gaza because that place is filled with tens of thousands of homeless people. So when Trump wants them gone somewhere, so it's like, we don't want to see them, just move them off to the side, you know. And he's against the killing, but, well, what are you going to do with these people? You know? Yes. And then anyway, we talk about Gaza. So I don't know what the solution is going to be in Washington, D.C., and Trump's solution in Gaza. That doesn't make any sense either, that the people should leave there and that he's going to make it beautiful for them, but yet they're not going to be there. And obviously, they're not going to be able to come back. And if they were able to come back, they would never be able to afford whatever the Trump is going to build there anyway. So anyway, it's nothing. And then Trump says that Hamas has to give up all their cards. Wait a minute, Zelensky had no cards, and Trump was criticizing about him having no cards, but the only cards that Hamas has are the hostages. Otherwise, they have no cards. So Trump says, give up all your cards, or else he's going to unleash hell on them, he said. Something like that. It's like, what the friggin' crap? So he says Zelensky should get some cards, that the U.S. is going to give him some cards, but Hamas doesn't deserve any cards. And you know what Netanyahu is going to do? I mean, I'll tell you what, even if they do have the hostages, it's strange that in Israel they've now come to the practice of even killing Israelis. If you remember what happened on that, October 7th, and everybody knows the truth that follows news, that Israel is the one that killed most all of those Israelis. And Hamas had really no interest in killing anybody. They wanted to get hostages so that they could exchange them for the many thousands of Palestinian hostages, and get some of them back, get the women and the children back. That's what the whole idea was, so that they could change those hostages to get the women and children, the Palestinian women and children back, get them freed. You know, Israel was just locking up thousands and thousands of them and putting them under terrible conditions. The men, of course, are brutally tortured, anally raped with baseball bats and things like that. I mean, they even have film footage of that. So I saw one of them. But anyhow, you guys know the deal. Here's the deal, man. And gosh, so anyway, they did what do they call it? A Hannibal directive, and they said to kill everybody, even to kill Israelis, to make sure that they did not come into the hands or to be hostages, and set up the situation that they actually have right now, to where Netanyahu is under pressure from his own people to free the hostages in some way. And anyway, you can figure it out. It's not that difficult. But so it's all just tools. We're all tools anyway, us useless eaters. And Netanyahu, his own people are tools. And luckily, Hamas is using that for their tools in such a way, but only to keep as much as they can to keep the Israelis at bay from slaughtering and massacring their own people, which of course the whole deal is it's ethnic cleansing any way possible. Of course they would be happy. It's not, is it genocide or not? I mean, it is definitely genocidal and elements of genocide, and as far as law is concerned, it's considered genocide, I guess. But really, if they really were practicing real genocide, they would just make sure they would kill everybody, and they go out of their way to kill a lot of people. They go out of their way to kill innocent people, children. They use children as bait. And I mean, you've seen the film footage. It's really, really, really sick. And Trump apparently ignores the fact that he hasn't seen these videos or hasn't heard about it. As well informed as he is, as well informed as Elon Musk is. I'll tell you what, I don't think Elon Musk really likes this, so it's going on right now anyway. He's probably keeping his mouth shut, so maybe that he can, I don't know. I don't think Elon Musk is for this stuff. And I don't even know that Elon Musk really was doing any nasty things in Venezuela, according to Nicolas Maduro. I still am waiting. I didn't see any evidence, just anger from Nicolas Maduro. I don't know. I want to hear what Musk has to say about that. So Trump is bragging that he gave these massive amounts of more bombs, and the most devastating bombs the U.S. holds, to Israel to finish the job, And Netanyahu, he delights in blood, He's always been that way. Yeah, incredible. I'm getting to the end of this video. Germany, I mean, even with this new chancellor now coming in, they say they have no plans whatsoever to restart Nord Stream 2. And I guess some German officials have even come out and they said, even with Trump in, that the United States will not accept Nord Stream ever being turned on again. So the whole deal is, talk about subservience. Germany admits that they are subservient to the United States. Their economy is not allowed to prosper. Wow, 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 wow. Makes you wonder what's going to happen in the future. They said they're not going to send troops to Ukraine. That's one thing. Italy said they're not going to send troops. I think it was Denmark. They said they would send troops. And of course, the Chihuahua states, you know, the Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, they desperately want to send troops. The little that they do have, they want to send their little Chihuahua dogs. You know, they are the big empire, the empire of the Chihuahua states. But they said, youth don't start a war without us getting involved. And Lithuania and all those, they're sending massive amounts of drones to Ukraine. Ukraine, I think I've mentioned it before, they have more drones than Russia does by far. Russia, of course, using them maybe more effectively. Russia's able to shoot down Ukrainian drones. I don't know. And now they say that a lot of the satellite links and all this stuff is maybe even also on pause from the United States, that it's going to be more difficult for Ukraine to be targeting, you know, these targets. And I think I mentioned there's organizations like United Nations and things like that, that they were telling Ukraine all the targets where a lot of the troops were located in Russia so that they could bomb them and whatever. But anyway, so that's probably about all I got to say now. But who knows? The United States is saying that they're just pausing like the weapons deliveries. I mentioned that in the last video, and now people are also talking about it, that the ships have turned back, the ones that have weapons that were going to Ukraine. And I don't know. So that's about all I have to say. Oh, that was one thing. They are still getting weapons, because the United States is sending weapons to certain other places, and those places are sending them to Ukraine. Just so that you know that. Just so that you know that. Not many people are going to be talking about that, I'm sure. And I'm not saying massive amounts, but there are still weapons, obviously U.S. weapons, going to Ukraine. And a lot of people are talking, if they cut off too many, what do they call that, HIMAR missiles, then Ukraine is in big trouble, because they use a lot of HIMARS. So we'll see. So that's about it for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope the light is good enough. The sun, I think, is up this way, so now you can see how I look in the mornings. And yeah, so I got to get back and finish what I have to do. And one of the big problems about why I'm doing this early is because no matter how long this looks like it's going to be like 33 or 34 minutes. YouTube is going to take many hours to upload this video onto their platform. So, and I need my phone. My phone, when it's uploading, I can't use it for class or anything. So that's the reason why. Okay, again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thanks. Bye-bye.